You know when you've been tangoed.
Right, just moved you over to the bench. The cassette's off, it's in there. And we'll just knock this off now. Again, there should be some kind of indication as to which way round this goes. I think they are normal clockwise and anti-clockwise, if I remember rightly. So, oh, I could be wrong. No, that's definitely tightening up. Oh, no, I was right first time. I think they're either 40 or 50 Newton meters then. Probably tell you on it. Resin pads only. Just get that out. You look all right. Sorry, just hoofed you then. So, I've got to strip these down. And what I couldn't find was the lock. It's there. Right. So there's an indentation for the thin spanners for these cones, so you can pin them and pull them apart. They're generally awkward and a pain up the backside. All right, I'll put this in the tub before we lose it. Let's just see where we are with these. Now, it'd be interesting to see where these are, because these have been on. These have had more pads on them, so potentially they should have had more wear, and they've probably had sintered on. So, given how thick these are, he's probably going to explain why or not the brakes. But weirdly, I can't feel a ridge on this. I can feel a ridge on the front one. So, it will be interesting to see what these are at. And these are at 1.6. So these are also very, very close to being worn out. Or you can see the ridge now. It's just further up. Right. So these are slightly less worn, but like I said, I ride a motorbike, so I front wheel brake. I don't rear wheel brake. Actually, that's just nipped up a bit more there. .6, so they are about the same as what the other ones were. So that's two new. Add that to the parts list. Right, let's tear into this now, see if we can get it to pieces. Spanners. So these are special spanners for undoing old-fashioned, and they are old-fashioned before anybody starts. Why we're still using free bearings in cranks in this day and age. 17, if I remember rightly. So that should be a 17. Yep. There we go. Get ready to catch them bits. So I hope you're watching. It's always a voyage of discovering this, because everybody has their own way of doing it. So that's like that. And then that should also have an indent in it. It has. So now we're going to go on the other side, which doesn't have an indent on it, because I can't get to it because of the... So what we're going to do is, the best thing with these now is to keep the weight on the bottom, undo this, and that keeps the ball bearings trapped. All you can see is my hand now, isn't it? You can't see what I'm actually doing. So I'm just trying to keep the axle still because it was starting to spin. So I'm just pinning it with my finger. I mean, it could be I've just blasted a load of muck in here because I used the pressure washer on it, and because I'd not noticed any problems with it, and they weren't. Slightly cleaner rag out now. Right, so what we're looking for is a line or a score line or a ridge in the cone that would suggest that we've got an issue. Actually, they don't. Oh my word, that's horrible. Right, so there's a massive great chew in it there, and that's the bit, that's the graunchiness. So that's just where a bit of the hardening started to degrade, and it's eaten it. So we need an axle set for one of these as well. So add that to the list. So this is where all careful disassembly now goes out the window, because we're going to need a set of ball bearings too. So let's use the shit one on this. So we'll make a note. The side with the flattened off threads comes in from the cassette side. I've just seen there's a massive great big chew in this one as well. That looks like writing. That can't be right. Let me get my nah, that's just eaten alive. Weirdly, it did look like a logo in it, but let's bring it over here. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, or whether you'll focus. I'm trying to get it so you're not in the reflection of one of the lights. But there, that's it there. It's in a bit of a... You can see there's a line all the way round as well. That's what I was looking for. So there'll be a bearing in there as well. There'll be knackered at least one. So we'll strip that off. That's the annoying thing. You can't actually tune these from one side either. So what you tend to do is you tend to lock them up. So we'll just make a mental note of how far that out is. That is out, and you lock it off, and then you have to feed this through, because there's no way of locking this down when it's in, because you can't get to that nut with the spanner, because the freewheel hub carrier's in the way. And you can see actually that there's a dust seal on here, and even that's loose as well. So it does need. We'd probably better off buying the full axle kit. You see that should be snug, but it's got muck behind it. I think that's supposed to be flexible as well. That might have gone hard. I'll have to go and check, see how that one works. It might be that they've got the rubber seal on the inside. Sometimes they have it on the inside, and it sits in that groove. Zoom you back around here. No, it is. It's on there. So the rubber seal's in there. So there's a plate in there that we're going to have to pop out now to get the ball bearings out. See if we can get it out without... You can hear some of the ball bearings already dropping through, helpfully. Right. Screwdriver. There is actually a special tool for this, but all you need is a flat bladed screwdriver just to gently get underneath it and just lift it out. And there you go. So it's actually, the grease looks fairly clean. It does look like it's just, we've just had been a bit unlucky there, and something's eaten it. So that'll be why it was graunching. Same on that side. We're still recording, yeah. So we'll get these 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. Number 8's just dropped on the floor, along with 3 out the other side. So 1, 2, 3. Same thing on this side. There's a thing, so you just gently, don't force it, because there is a piece of metal behind it. So you might have to go around and pry it up gently. Just ease it out. If you just try and force it out in one go, it'll bend it. We might be able to reuse these. Depends what comes in the kit. There we go. Now, so look a bit more scabbier on that side. There we go. So that's all of them. Right, now what we need to do now is have a look and see how bad the races are on this side, and hopefully we've got away with it and they're not damaged as well, because I don't think you can pop these out. Some of them you can actually pull the hub carrier race out, but some of them you can't. Oh, I think we've dodged a bullet there. They feel okay. I can't feel anything in there at all. That suggests we've got an issue there. Can you see that? Yeah. There's also you need a flat blade in there to get that thread out, to get that off, which we'll have a bash at doing. Let's see if we drop lucky on this side as well. I really don't, because the thing is with these, if these go, it's not economical to replace them. Actually, them spokes feel a bit squidgy. I think we might have dropped lucky on this side as well. Your finger is the best gauge for this, because you might not even be able to see a defect, but you will feel it. Nope, that's good. So I think we're lucky with that one. I'll call that a win, sort of. We've had to replace. So we need a new set of bearings and a new axle. It might be worth seeing if I can push that through there. Yeah. That's interesting. There is actually like a Torx bit on there to unscrew that. So I'm wondering whether I can get the whole centre out. I think these wheels are designed to run on through axles as well, if I remember rightly. I could be talking at the bottom. Nope. So I've never actually stripped one of these down before, so I've just noticed this, and I'm wondering whether it's another way of getting the bearing carrier out, the cassette hub carrier out. That's what I'm doing. There we go. Well, that's just made life a whole lot easier. Straight out. That's interesting. So you can change the whole. So actually, if the hub was damaged on that side, if the race was damaged on that side, you can replace it, 'cause it's all part of the cassette carrier. So what we'll do is we'll get that to pieces, and wang a bit of grease in there. I still think to get to the actual ratchet, you've got to get that out of there. I don't think there's a way of getting that off. Well, we're in this far now, we might as well go. So you could convert this to looking at this, then you probably could convert this. I'm wondering what comes out of this side now. What have I just lost down there? The centre out of that. I don't think there's anything to unscrew from this side. I'm just wondering what. I see that's spinning, so that implies that must come out. Don't find the other ball bearing. Here's one we lost earlier. Any more lurking in there? So that feels like it's ball raced, which is interesting because that definitely implies that that's a sealed bearing inside there. Which means you could quite easily change this for a sealed bearing, and then that would run on your 12mm through hub. No, not going through, but I don't want to force the issue. But we've got to put it back as it is anyway, so let's just give that a quick wang out. There's definitely some threads on the inside of there, so it does look like something unscrews. It's a shame you can't convert it to run on sealed bearings. There's no way of getting that out once that's been put in there. That's screwed in. Right, so that's that one done. So a quick count up of the bearings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 9 in each one. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 9 in each one. Cool. Then we've just got this that sits on there, that goes in there. Don't forget that bit. I've got a funny feeling I will be forgetting this bit. Let's quickly clean this up. It's a shame that I don't really want to force the issue to get in here. It would have been nice to. But I'm not sure it's actually going to gain us anything. It looks like it has got a seal on it, and the seal looks like it's intact, so I think we're probably alright with that. I can't remember if I have a tool for this. I thought I bought some tools. Let me have a look in the tool. I have got a tool. I thought I had a tool. Hmm. Just going to do this up gently. Let's just spin it around. Can't hold it tight enough. Let's just spin it. I don't want to risk damaging the carriers, the teeth for the sprocket. I could put it on the wheel and have a bash at it. Because the wheel has got some indentations. Aha. Right, let's be very careful with these now. So there are, I'd have checked, there's some hiding in there. Oh god, there's loads of them. Right. So it's bull raced at both ends. Millions of little balls. Right. So it's quite possible that could have got worn down. It is absolutely full of crap. So fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. But that goes in the bottom. There's a couple of parts to it. So what we'll do is we'll fasten that back together so we don't lose it. The ball bearings, we'll count them. So there's two of them spacers. It's interesting. Right, so it might be that you can tighten these up when they get loose by taking a spacer out, because I would put money on that these possibly, when they screw down hard. But there's, what's worrying me is there's some slivers of metal that have come out of this. You see that? I noticed them as I was pulling it apart. So I suspect we've had some chewing in there. Yeah, one or two of them. So there's teeth in there with some little flappers that flop out there and grab the edge of the wheels. Now there should be three of them, but it looks like there's only two, or one of them's got stuck. So we might have to have a look at that. because that's what normally happens. They get you lose a flapper. I can't feel it in there, but we'll get that cleaned up. We'll get the bearings knocked off it. Yeah, so you can see there's one there, and there's one there. Now I think there should be another one there, possibly. Can't believe there's only two, and they're not balanced either. They're not in the same spot. There's one. Right, just have a quick look at that to make sure we get the seal right. So it looks like it's got the rib to that side and then the step down bit on the other side. I'll try and clean it without taking that off though. I really don't want to strip this down. What I'm going to do is I would normally just clean all this stuff and park it and then put it back together later, but I think I'm going to reassemble these now so I don't risk it. I still don't know why we've only got why this is done like that. It just seems odd that we'd have one there and not one over here, but there just seems to be a massive big hole there and no other hole where you could put one. So we'll just assume that that's how it's supposed to be, and I'll go and look at the Shimano manual tonight for that. So that bit's clean as it's going to get. Same with that bit. Then we've got these two washers. One. Now I think that we can take this out to tighten it up. Because I think when you preload it, you load it onto here. And I think now that the bearings are wearing out, I think when you reassemble it, you take that one out. So we just need to have a quick count up of the bearings. So move them out of the way. That's part of it. Check the races. The races look, the actual race bits that it runs on look okay. There's no sign of any knurling on here. I can't see anything on the inside, so that bit looks okay. That looks okay. Still a bit of muck in there, even though it's been in the bath. So we'll load that up with the bearings, and then we'll load the other bit up that comes at it from the other side. So that bit sits there with the bearings, and that's in the ratchet. And I don't seem to want to go in. There we go. So we'll get that in with the bearings on the bottom bit, and then we've got to work out how to get the bearings on the top bit, which I'm guessing the best way to do is to stick them to that and drop them in. I don't know if this comes off there. It does kind of look like it might come off. Well, that might just be the... No, I think that's just them, where they are. So we'll pack that full of grease. There doesn't appear to be any muck under flappers, so they look okay. Wang it around with grease, stick the ball bearings back on. I think they are all the same size. They look very similar to the ball bearings that you use on the wheel bearing, on the pedal sets, to be honest. So the only thing I don't know is whether there's a different number for the outer and the inner race, because they do look like they're a different size. So I would guess that there's probably, well, they might be the same. So we'll stick the ball bearings in there after we've cleaned them. Problem is, as soon as I move these out of here, that they are then fair game to get lost. And there are rather a lot of them, if you can see. This is very time consuming. So what you have got to do is take each bearing out, clean it, stick it on its final destination. So if I had a parts washer at this point, they'd all be going in the parts washer and getting dunked. But I haven't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut you off now. I'll clean all them lot up and get them in a pot. And then we'll start reassembling. Bit fiddly, back together now. Just going to push a little bit more grease into the back of this before we put the dust seal back on. And I've got to nip it back up as well. I decided to leave that that extra thin ring in because there was a bit of play, but it wasn't excessive. It seems to be fairly smooth, so we'll go with that for the time being until I've read up a bit more about these. I can always pull it off and do it again. Right, I've cleaned the seal and I've worked out which way round it has to go back on. So we'll just shove that in there now. He says. Should be the easy bit. That's it. So I think there's like a lip that it sits on this. If you knock it round, it should just drop onto it. Hopefully. If not, we'll tease it in with a screwdriver. I think that's in. Looks to have rolled back. Yeah, that last bit just teased it into place, I think. Right, so that's good. I think the best way to tighten this up is to get it back on the wheel. And I think it's a left-hand thread as well. So you tighten it up as if you're undoing it. So it's righty-tighty. That's interesting. It's now not ratcheting. Is it that rubber seal is in the wrong place? So it's ratchet, it is ratcheting. It just feels a bit stiff now. That rubber seal's not in right. No, it's ratcheting, it is working. So, do it up as if I'm taking it off. Yeah, that feels fine. If anything, it's possibly that rubber seal. Yeah, that was the rubber seal. Possibly it's flipped over as I was putting it on. That's definitely the outer edge. So you can see the muck in it. Oh, I think possibly that had flipped over. I think there's a very fine lip that it sits on. Oh, that's it. Don't think it has to go any further than that. It does look like it's Right then, so we might as well stick this back on while we're here. Oh yeah, that's spot on that. Right. Don't forget that, apparently, that sits there. And that goes in there. So you learn something new every day. Never seen one that comes off like that before. I've seen them normally where they have a the whole centre comes out and then it lifts off and leaves the ratchet behind. Never had them come off where the whole ratchet itself is self-contained. That's a new one. Well, the play seems to have gone out of it now, so that's quite happy with that. Right. A bit of reassembly we didn't plan on doing.